This video is part of another video I was making on cliches.
Are you lost, baby girl?
Wow. Wow.
I know cliches have become a very tiring thing in movies and TV shows, but I actually believe that cliches are a very good thing. And it was another video I was making to defend cliches that gave birth to this video I am about to make right now. And the cliche this video is based on is the whole bad boy and good girl cliche, or bad girl and good guy. This cliche is something that is used a lot and is actually one of my guilty pleasures, where I actually enjoy TV shows or movies that portray a bad boy or girl falling in love with a good girl or boy. Now, that is what suckered me into watching 365 Days. I am someone that doesn't like to read synopsis or watch trailers because I feel like they will spoil the movie one way or the other, either in the most expensive way or in even the cheapest ways, and I don't want that. I had been hearing about 365 Days from Instagram because people were posting an image of the guy and the girl, and then on YouTube I saw a clip or shorts video about the actor and the actresses on a red carpet of some sort, I can't remember. And that is what pushed me to watch the 365 Days because they looked so good. I should start reading synopsis and watching trailers because this is not the first time I have fallen for this stupidity. It is not the second time I have fallen for this stupidity. It is not the third, but I have had enough. I came into the show thinking of them as they were in that clip. Of course I know they will be acting, but I thought that they would be acting at least anything close to that. So I summed up that he will be this brooding mafia boss character and she is going to be this nice going, easygoing, bright sunny character who he is going to fall in love with and who is going to teach him this big lesson. I am a cheap person when it comes to cliches, okay? I know the judgment, but that is what I thought going into this, and I was so disappointed that it wasn't that. I skipped through most of the movie, but what broke my heart was remembering the video that made me watch the movie in the first place. I don't know if the director just couldn't work with them as themselves, because if they had played themselves, this movie would have been so much better. They had so much potential. Every clip I see of these guys online, I just feel bad for what the movie ended up being. So this video is going to be me talking about how much better this movie could have been if they had leaned into the cliche that the movie was presenting, but leaned into it the right way. Now, I know through comments, because I watched this movie through other reactors, but I know through comments that this is supposed to be a trilogy of some kind. I haven't read the books, and so if anything I mention in this video as something they could have done to make the romance better is something that actually showed up in the books, I'm sorry. I'm just going to be judging the movie based on the movie and not the books. I will try to keep most of the story how it was. Most because I want to prove, and by most I mean the sexual parts, and that's because I want to prove that it wasn't that ruined the movie, but other things. Of course, before I even start, there is one scene that I will change. The scene in the airplane at the beginning with one of the air hostesses, change that. That's the only thing I'll change. The rest I will keep more or less the same. But also I would like to mention that to make this comparison on how good the story could have been, I will be borrowing another bad guy, good girl cliche series that made this much better, which is Good Girls between Rio and Beth. Let's get to it. Now, we are moving on to the character of Massimo and the reason it didn't work. And this is where I'm going to use Good Girls Rio as an example.
And you best not put that stuff in your face. You don't need it.
So let's start with Rio first. Rio brought something to Good Girls that Massimo, I don't know if they tried to bring it, but they just couldn't show it. He couldn't bring, which was the danger he posed to Beth's life. That's where the guilt of wanting their relationship kind of sinks in. Rio is a dangerous gang leader, and it shows to everyone but Beth. He even shows his sides to everyone but Beth. There are points where he threatens her with a gun and whatnot, and she talks her way out of it. But personally, as someone viewing it, I didn't see it as her talking her way out of it. I saw it as him allowing her to talk her way out of it. He has gone through a lot, and you see it in different scenes. He lets her get away with a lot until she starts to push the limits. The biggest example of this, as in the danger he is when she tries to get him arrested.
But you can't even handle a little blood? I thought you wanted to be me.
But he is freed, and she comes back home to see that he has beaten her husband within an inch of his life.
I mean, that's what all this is, right? You trying to put me away and all. You must got big plans.
And now he was giving her the choice to do herself what she was trying to get the police to do, which was kill him. And there were moments where he was going in and out between laughing and being serious and laughing. And then he took the gun from her and said,
You did your best.
Then he turns to shoot her husband. When he fired the gun and then he looked at Beth, she looked into his eyes. She was terrified. There was no joy, no satisfaction, no sick, twisted pleasure, no pain, no fear, nothing. This man's eyes were just dead. I was looking at, this is a stone cold killer. He is definitely letting her get away with all the things she's doing, because he could just have easily shot her, but he didn't. But he proved in that second that there were things he could do that she could not even begin to dream of doing. So she better not mess with him, but she kept doing it. That is what I mean by the danger. You just know that there is something about Rio that she should stop playing with, because he's someone that could snap and he could really hurt her. But because he doesn't do it, you begin to buy into this relationship, because he has all the power to ruin, destroy, and kill her, yet continues to let her get away with hurting him over and over again, because she does it a lot. Even to the point where I started feeling bad for Rio and telling him, the gang leader, that he deserved better. That is what I mean by the danger and the guilt that comes with preferring the villain. But Massimo couldn't do this to save his own life. They show a few scenes here and there of him being a mafia boss, but somehow the gang leader seems more threatening than a mafia boss. How did Mr. Gigi put it again?
Book Ashley would have shoved razor blades in the mouth of movie Ashley and then forced him to chew.
Exactly that. If Rio and Massimo were in the same room, Rio would eat Massimo alive. He has no dangerous presence. They tell us this man is dangerous. They tell us how he stands up for this and that. But when I look at the character and the things they have written him to be, he looks like a spoiled child that has not been given a gun and he's waving it around. There is nothing about this character to be endeared to, nothing about him to like. And why that is important in a cliche like this, the whole bad boy and good girl, is that when you like the villain of this, the person who is obviously on the wrong end, you get to also see the reason why the person who falls in love with them, the good person, is falling for them. I can see why Beth, in the long run, falls for Rio some way, but I can't see why Laura falls for Massimo. I don't see what she falls for. He has zero danger in him, as in there is no threat to even say that, oh, he's so dangerous and yet so sweet with her. He treats her the same way he treats his gang members. That is the difference between Rio and Massimo. Rio's danger also peppers the fact that he doesn't turn that danger on Beth, even though he wants to so many times. Another thing about Massimo that failed was his confidence and arrogance. Rio is a very confident, self-assured, and sometimes cocky character, but he has so much more to offer Beth than those things. When it comes to Massimo, his confidence and arrogance is just in his body. No other personality does he have that he has to offer Laura to make her want him. At this point, I feel like she was just written to want him, because there's nothing on paper for even the audience to feel, apart from his face. Both Rio and Massimo are good-looking people, but Rio brings so much more to the table than his face and his voice. Massimo brings nothing. There is a scene. I missed it the first time I watched it, but thanks to Sean Thompson and his ability to make anything bad look good, I watched it. And the scene, if I remember it correctly, he was trying to prove to Laura the reasons she should give in to his demands, right? To give in to wanting him, to wanting to be with him. And he shows off his great physique, okay? then brings this other woman in and has her please him. How does that make Laura want you? Because she can see what? Like I said, I don't want to change a lot about the movie just to prove to you that it wasn't the sex that was the problem. If you wanted to show Laura that, which I don't even know why, because no, it should have been the other way around. It should have been him showing her how good he is at making the woman he brings in happy. There is nothing in my head that writes that scene as it is and shows it off as anything to be arrogant about. That is one thing I love about Rio. Like, his appeal doesn't come from that, doesn't come from sexual tension, it just comes from him. And his confidence and arrogance is backed by so much. I mentioned that he is very dangerous, but lets Beth get away with a lot of things. And the reason why I say this is because at some point during a deal, he gives Beth strict instructions not to go into the house of the place where she is going to do the deal. But something goes wrong.
You went in the house.
She goes into the house and then she is faced with a threat that is not attracted to her and does not like her, because Rio likes her. So he lets her get away with a lot of things, like talking back to him and all those things. She tries that in the house he warns her not to go into, and the fear you see set into her eyes is like the clarity for you, the viewer, that yes, Rio has been giving you milk. These people, straight up gin. They are just crazy. Now, she tells Rio why she went into the house.
My daughter needed something in the car.
Who cares?
And he scolds her.
I'm a mother.
You're a drug dealer.
He tries to remind her that whatever she thinks she is, how much she wants to separate herself from this life, she is still living in it.
And if you mess up at that, you go to jail or you die.
But at the end of that episode, she gets a package from Rio, and it's the kid's blanket, or I think comfy, that she lost. So either he asked for it or he went in to get it. And that is something you can consider as sweet, because he was scolding her for it, but still kept in mind the importance of what she was saying. And even though he was angry at what she did, he went to get what she had gone to look for. And it doesn't stop there. Rio compliments her mind and sees her potential in what she could do in his business. He speaks to her as an equal most of the time. So by the time, because in season 2, I think she does end up sleeping with him, just as Laura ended up sleeping with Massimo. But by season 2, he had put her life in danger, made her a drug dealer. Well, she's an adult, so he didn't make her that. Shot her husband to her face. And yet, when she does end up sleeping with him, I, as a viewer, understand why she does it. I can see the reasons leading up to that choice. When it comes to Laura and the character of Massimo, aside from him being good looking, there is nothing else I see as her reason for doing that. Because he offers nothing. What did he offer her? Is it the clothes? Is it the house where she is a prisoner? Because she is a prisoner. He kidnapped her, but there's nothing else in between the kidnapping time and the time she finally kisses him or sleeps with him that makes any sense in the choice that she has made. I saw a lot of comments were saying that if he wasn't good looking, this would be a horror movie. But there was no comment in that comment section that made it look to me that anyone saw this as anything but a horror movie. So his looks does not excuse him, to us at least, but it excuses him to Laura. The reason a cliche like the bad boy and good girl trope works is what it can sell to the audience. Because I will list all the reasons that Rio was terrible. Comment sections even say everybody wants a Rio until you get a Rio and it's not fun. But until that point, even after, it's just so much that you want Beth and him to be together, despite the fact that he can and will cost her a lot. Her kids, he will cost her life. He can even be the reason she gets sent to jail, but you still want it, and that's where the guilty pleasure comes from. With Massimo, no. You can't even see what Laura sees. I don't mind the fact that he kidnaps her. That part doesn't have to change, but I'll change how it happens later on. I don't mind because given his position as this big mafia boss, I understand that he feels like he owns her, right? Like he has the right to do this. And that is a good thing because it leads to a lesson maybe at the end of the movie he can realize that that's not how you win love. And he wants to win her love honestly, so he lets her go even before the contract is up. It can be something that could be written to be a big lesson that Massimo has to learn, a lesson that Laura teaches him as they spend time together. When I say contact, I am specifically referring to Massimo's promise to Laura. He promises that he will not touch her without her permission. And then, as this timestamp shows, proceeds to do the opposite of that. If Massimo had kept his word on not touching Laura, I feel like this movie would have been 100 million times better, because it shows that he can keep his word. And I'll prove how that would help the movie later on, but let's continue with the keeping his word. Tension. From watching TV shows, I have learned that you don't always have to use your hands to create what you want in another person. They can be words, they can be glances. Let's take an example from this couple. Now, just a short context, they are fighting at this point, but they do love each other. With what I remember of Laura's character, or how I think they were writing her, they wrote her to be this defiant, not doing what he says woman, and that is what he's attracted to, right? This person that does not fall at his feet as other women do. Laura seems like the type that if he gave her an option to squeeze past him to where she wants to go or walk around to avoid him, she would choose the squeezing past him, and she would look him in the eye as she does it. There is so much you can do without breaking the promise of not touching her, because his hands are not moving. Yes, he is also causing her to touch him, but he physically is not making her do it. Prison Break, another example of how you can use words and not touch to win someone.
This whole time I was thinking it was Gandhi.
You're very funny.
Massimo doesn't have to be the greatest comedian in the world. He can just say the most off-handed things that would make her chuckle or laugh. Maybe it's sarcasm, maybe it's a bite back. Something. Flirt like a normal human being, Massimo. Do something other than use your hands. Michael and Sarah were in a situation where touching wasn't what they should be doing. She treats him, he leaves, but every time he comes in, he is trying to win her over. So he's doing it with words. He's doing it by talking. My goodness, Massimo and Laura do not talk.
But maybe they'll talk to each other.
How much of this movie would have been saved if they had actual human conversations? Because of the situation he's put her in, Massimo and Laura are going to have a lot of fights. And most times, whether she's losing the fight or not, whether he's losing the fight or not, maybe Laura would just want not to hear what he has to say anymore, and she would try to walk away, where he would stop her by getting in her way, and it would bring them so close to each other, making Laura back away while he, smirks or shows off some of his cocky arrogance. There is so much he can do without putting his hands on her. Now, I want to give a very big example to the contact thing and why it's so important. There is a scene where Laura tries to push Massimo's buttons by approaching him in the bathroom. He fumbles this so hard, and it's terrible, but it could have gone so much better. When she talks all the talk she wants to, he could stand there and be silent, watching her, thinking that she is in fact giving in, but when she pulls away, instead of what he does, which is...
I was kind of scared for her.
He could have let her walk away and then have this little expression on his face that makes the audience know that he's going to get her back for that. He doesn't have to put his hands on her. And how does he get her back? Massimo can come to her and tell her that this is as much torture for him as it is for her, because he wants to be with her, but he's running out of patience waiting for her. So he's brought her a deal. He promises that she picks the game, she picks the criteria. If she wins the game that she picks with all her rules, he will dissolve the contract and let her go free. But if he wins, then she would have to do what he wants for the rest of the day. Now, why does the no contact rule work? Because he has kept his promise on not putting his hands on her without her permission. Laura would trust that he will keep the promise of setting her free if she wins the game. Now, I don't know what Laura is good at, I've forgotten, but let's say, I think I saw a clip of them playing golf. So let's say she's great at golf and he takes her to a golf course, or he has one, I don't know how big his house is. He lets her almost win before completely wiping the floor with her. And she knows this. She will realize when it's too late that he's actually even better and he's just been playing her this entire time and she played into his hands. That can be his revenge for the shower. And now she has to do what he wants for the rest of the day. You as Laura would imagine, obviously because of how he is, maybe he would mention, kiss me. But as he taunts her with the fact that now he has the power, he simply tells her to meet him for dinner and be dressed. And let's just say Massimo goes all out. This is a man that clearly has money, right? So let's just imagine the most elaborate dinner you have ever seen with a live band. And during the dinner, they talk. How do you build a connection with someone you want to love you? You talk, right? So you have Massimo ask about her interests, ask about what she likes, ask about her hobby, tell her an embarrassing story about himself. While she's brooding through this dinner, you can see chips in her that the conversation is working. And just as the dinner is about to end, Massimo goes and says, "Can I have this dance?"
May I?
The reason I said "can I" is that he doesn't say "dance with me." The "can I" there is kind of giving her the impression he's still giving her that respect, that she has to allow him still touch her, because obviously dancing requires touch.
Yes.
He starts to talk to her about what he fell for. He can talk about her hair, even if he uses the cheesy lines like
her hair falls perfectly without her trying.
And how now that they've been together, even if they were fighting, there's even more that he's falling for. He would buy planets to see her smile, something that just sucks her into the moment. And then he does something spontaneous, like maybe spin her around and over until she breaks laughing. Let's take Kate and Anthony. These two people do not like each other. Well, they try not to like each other. But there are moments when Anthony would say something that would make Kate break her normal character of being angry with him, and she would laugh. Then she would catch herself and put her straight face back on. That could have been used so well in this, where he's on this dinner, he has wooed her, he's now dancing, he spins her around, she breaks, she laughs, and when they come back together, he's closer than when they started. So it's working. She just doesn't realize it's working, but we do. The contact could have been used so well, because when she finally gives him the permission that she wants the kiss, she wants this to happen, it will be this monumental moment, because he had kept his word all this time. But in the movie, he doesn't keep his word. The minute after promising to keep his hands to himself, his hands are on her breast. So why would it be important for us when she finally falls off because of him and then says, you know what, I think I'm ready for this? I feel like the contact could have been used so well. But for that to work, something else had to give way. And that is
the whole movie a music video? Little did he know that it is.
So much was sacrificed in this story, so much potential, just so they could have 3-4 minutes music videos every 10 seconds. That's an exaggeration, but that's how it felt like even when I was watching it through the reactors. Why this was costly is because a lot of things I mentioned about the contact rule needs time. They need time to sell to the audience that Laura falling in love with him has a reason. Montages don't do the trick, because we're just seeing them have fun and we don't know why she's even having fun with him in the first place, because he kidnapped her. The time could have been used to build Massimo's character. They rather chose to give us a music video. Now, we're going to Laura's character. And I didn't know this about her except for the comments that helped me understand. But apparently in the books, she fainted a lot. And I couldn't help but think how well this could have played out for Laura and Massimo's romance. Now, a lot of arguments she had with Massimo, a lot of fights, could have led to maybe her blood pressure going up and affecting her heart, making her faint. Let's say fainting is how she ends up in his house. Let's rewrite how they meet. He's not stalking her. He just happens to be at the same party, and she is wandering the gardens and bumps into him. He turns, he notices her, and as we said during the dance, he's shocked that she is really there. And he stares. I don't know if I would keep the "Are you lost, baby girl" part, or if I'll take it out, because I judge Massimo a lot, but Rio calls Beth mama a lot. I don't feel like it's awkward coming from Rio, but the "Are you lost, baby girl" just never sits right with me when it comes from Massimo. So let's, for the sake of not changing the entire story, keep just that one "Are you lost, baby girl" in the line. She laughs, she leaves. When she turns around, this man is still standing there. I don't know why they wrote him to disappear into the forest, but when she turns, she still sees him staring after her, and then she leaves. Then she finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her. They have a whole argument. She's running into the city, scared, panicked and crying, and in the moment she just collapses because her heart, she faints. And she wakes up in no other house than Massimo's. She's embarrassed, let's say, because in that moment she doesn't know he is a threat. He tells her maybe to calm down and explains that he knew who she was because he saw her at the party, but he found her on the floor and he didn't know her hotel or a number to call, so he brought her here to be checked by a doctor. They have a little chat that starts out friendly and maybe exchange some jokes, but it all turns dark when Laura is ready to leave. She's embarrassed and she wants to call maybe her friend that came with her to celebrate her birthday, and Massimo won't let her call. Then she starts to see that something is wrong and maybe she tries to escape. Second incident of her fainting. She doesn't want to be here, so obviously they're going to have a lot of arguments. Let's say in one of these arguments, she passes out or faints close to a staircase, falls and hurts herself. She comes to, Massimo has carried her to a chair and he's treating her wound. As he's treating this wound, he can be talking to her, saying this is not the first time he's seen her do that. Does it always happen? And even though she's reluctant, she tells him about the fainting and her heart condition and whatnot. And he asks if she has a job, if the fainting affects her job, and they get to talking. I mentioned that I didn't mind that he kidnapped her, but at this moment, in the beginning of the movie, his love is more obsession than it is actual love. So this whole 365 days thing is not just about Laura coming to love him, it's also Massimo coming to understand what love actually is, and that is not what he originally felt for her. So in this moment they are learning about each other and they start to talk, but as soon as she's done with her leg, maybe she just leaves. She walks away, but that moment has already been had. They've talked, they've conversed, they have built this bridge, and it just needs to be built up a little more, which comes in with the contact thing, the flirting. The bridge just keeps getting built and built until they meet in the middle. Another way that her fainting could have played into it is the third scene that brought her close to him in the movie, the scene in the boat. As I said, they are going to fight. So why not, as they are fighting, make Laura lightheaded, and Massimo understands what's about to happen, but notices too late that it's about to happen at the rails of the boat, and she falls in, and he jumps in to save her. It makes so much sense, because even though he's still responsible for the fact that she's lightheaded because he's the reason she's angry, he at least is not the reason she fell.
The way she falls off is so funny.
How do you make her fall off because of him? Not even by accident. He pushes her in an argument and she falls off in the most ridiculous, oh god, way possible, only for him to save her and she is grateful.
You saved me.
Yeah, he might have saved you, but he's the reason why you almost drowned anyway, so...
I would write that she wouldn't be grateful in that sense. She would rather be more angry, like, you... Instead, she's all, my god, you saved me. I couldn't imagine it. I was at the depths of death and you showed up. No. If she fell because of the fainting on her own and he saved her, after all I've mentioned, you know, the closeness that has been building, and she finally says,
Hey, don't go.
so much more impactful than what we got. I don't even mind if the rest of it happened. Maybe after the kiss she couldn't stop and it went on and on and on and on and she finally gave in. It was just the build up to that moment that sucked. To put an end to this long video, I think 365 Days was a story that was sucked dry of potential, and I don't even know what for. If you want to make a movie that has them sleeping around, sure. There are many movies that have that, but also have so much substance within that movie. I don't even remember how long 365 Days was, but there was enough time to build a relationship and build it right. You know, there's a scene that I think Massimo actually sends her away for her safety. And when she's back, she's now mooning and telling her friend about this.
Którym zawsze czujesz się jak mała dziewczynka.
Imagine a strong alpha male.
I don't know why she's sad, because like I said, they have nothing in the story that she should be missing apart from sleeping with him. If they had done the other things, the golf, how he had challenged her, whatnot, something, the flirting, the confidence, the compliments, but he gave her nothing. And when she was finally set free, instead of this woman partying like no tomorrow, she was rather sad. And I, as an audience, I'm not understanding what she's sad about because I don't understand. Now, what I mean with this video is that the cliche of the entire bad boy and good girl stories are not bad. They are not dead, and they can always be used by better writers who have more in mind than just selling this cliche.